The chairpersons to please introduce our speaker.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, friends, and we welcome Dr. Bhattacharya. He is a scientist at TIFR, and more important than that, he is also a center director for science education, and that is his passion. And he is interested in taking science to public, mainly the interface between health and science, and he loves dealing with high school students and college students, and that has been his passion. He has, of course, other passions. Unlike Ruksheda, he loves cooking, singing, marathon runner. Long before chai and charcha became popular in 2014, Dr. Bhattacharya has been having, he has pioneered and mentors Chai and Why. Chai and Why. So it's an open forum, informal forum, where you can come and talk about science. Somebody will discuss something about science, and it is not hardcore science, but anything that interests you, questions that you want to ask and you do not know whom to ask. And it has been going on since 2009. They've had more than 450 of those sessions since then, and it is continuing regularly. The only thing odd about is the Sundays. So it's always on odd Sundays of every month, the first one and the third one. And it is an open thing. So the first one is at Prithvi Theatre from 11 a.m. onwards. And the third Sunday is at Ruparel College. And it's also live on YouTube. He has a channel and it's live on that. So Chai and Why, and that is his passions. I, sir, invite you to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You can hear me? Okay. Thanks for the publicity for Chai and Why. Can I get my talk?
Yes.
Just like change it. This one. Okay, cool. Okay, so I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a medical doctor. I am a science communicator. I am passionate about taking science and the method of science to the public at large. ठीक है कुछ कट रहा है, but that's fine. नीचे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होगा. And hopefully, I'm going to tell you some interesting stories today. Okay? And okay, so if you've missed the news, the one example I keep telling people, last night she won the world championship. I mean, this is, you know, I just cannot imagine how sorted her mind must be to be able to concentrate and focus and shoot with her leg, right? I mean, if she can do it, what are all of us doing is what I tell my students. What is stopping you from doing your work? Look at her. Do you face such challenges? No, come on, we can do it. And after that, that smile. I mean, this is just such a passion which is unbelievable. Anyway, I am going to tell you a scientist's view on this. I am not an expert on anything. I am going to tell you some interesting stories. You have to do evaluation critically yourself. DSM, ICD, whatever you guys are experts in. ये सब मैं नया सुन रहा हूँ, but you can evaluate whatever I am saying. Okay, oops, wrong way. So, what is the problem? The problem is this. We all start off as fearless researchers and brilliant scientists. Take any child, they are exploring the world around them. Poking something, licking something, pushing something. Kids are not afraid to experiment. What happens when we put them in their educational system? Our educational systems, our social systems, tell them, don't ask questions. Bola hai na, karo. That's what happens. We try to stamp out inquiry. Okay, we are not encouraged to ask questions in class. We are not encouraged to challenge elders. We are not encouraged to challenge traditional beliefs. And hence, we stamp out inquiry, and that is one of the reasons we are in the situation that we find ourselves today. So we must learn to ask questions, ask uncomfortable questions, ask difficult questions. And the thing is, almost everything in today's world depends on science. And hence, you know, I was coming here right next to Veej Bhavan. On the way, there is this, they've installed solar panels. And there are so many scientific questions that are on solar panels. At the end of the day, they answer, people think about all this. You ask Tata BP Solar, they tell you answers to all this. But at the end of it, look at the solar panel, it's completely covered with dust. Right? This is not generating whatever its panel says. And there is another smaller panel, you can see all these white spots over there, all the pigeons sit there and do their stuff. Okay? So, these are practical problems you have to think about. And the thing is, science is not a collection of facts in a book. Science is a process. It's a process of how we try to understand the world. Science does not, a flower outside does not care whether it's a biologist looking at it or a physicist looking at it or a mathematician looking at it or a psychiatrist looking at it. Right? Nature doesn't care about this. These are divisions we have made. Okay? And the more we know about the world around us, that world could be a cell inside my body, the world could be a star in a galaxy far away. Right? The more I know, the more questions I have, the more things I can ask. And can we apply this process of science to our everyday life is what it is. And this is what is scientific temper. Scientific temper comes around, it was started by Nehru. It's a search for truth, knowledge. Don't accept anything without asking questions, without testing it out. Look at evidence. And this is sort of not just for science, this is for everything that we do in life. Okay, so, having a degree in science is not equal to scientific temper, and there are a lot of people who are using scientific temper in their lives, they are not scientists at all. So, India is the only country, why perhaps the only country, it is the only country where our constitution mandates, Article 51A of our constitution mandates that the citizens should have developed scientific temper and humanism. Okay, this is what our constitution mandates. But if I look around what is happening in the press, right, people make all kinds of crazy claims. Pollution in Delhi is because some poisonous gas was released in Pakistan perhaps. Even worse, people in high positions, IIT Mandi director strikes again. Last year he said that the cloudburst flooding in Mandi happened because girls who were menstruating attended the Janmashtami celebrations. I mean, if you have people like this as directors of institutions, you have no hope. Okay, so which is why I think it is necessary for all of us to understand this and look at the problems we are. And now there is another issue that we have, that is AI. Okay, and AI especially in the field of medical diagnostics. Okay, there are papers, this is August 2024, Enhancing Mental Health with AI, Current Trends and Prospects. This is a very positive paper of how they can use AI for various things and what are the different things that are available. But Mount Sinai, they have said AI chatbots can run with misinformation in medical sciences, and just this is yesterday, September 27th or day before, yesterday's Hindustan Times, Mind Games with ChatGPT. Do not use AI as the only line of help in a crisis, because ChatGPT will just give you garbage. Okay, so one has to be extremely careful in the area that we are in. And the problem is there are no dearth of idiots in high places. So for example, it takes decades to build up stuff, and you have the the health secretary who is completely undermining their medical thing. Trump 2 days back has blamed the paracetamol or Tylenol or acetaminophen or Tylenol as it's called out there for autism. It's complete garbage. What is happening is currently the US, the immunization for measles is so bad. I mean 1300 cases in Texas and people dying in the US of measles. What the hell? They're going to lose their status as measles eliminated very soon, the way things are going. The guy has said don't give MMR vaccine. Now, whenever I talk about scientific temper, people question me about belief. Beliefs are perfectly fine. Everybody has beliefs. Beliefs are what keep us going. Beliefs are important to have, as long as it's a personal belief. If I want to believe, or if you want to believe that the moon is a Rava Laddu, that is fine with me. I believe the moon is a Rava Laddu. As long as I do not ascribe a scientific thing to it, that I am giving you a scientific reason why the moon is a Rava Laddu, then I will ask you questions on science. Then you have to justify by the methods of science that the moon is a Rava Laddu. As long as you want to have a personal belief, that is fine. The problem is when you claim that the belief is scientific, then I will scrutinize it using the way of science. Also, if you are in a position of authority, especially in India where we respect people in position of authority, whether minister or something, it behooves you not to make crazy statements about which can be easily misinterpreted or which are absolutely wrong about science. So, what I can do in the next little bit is give you some very common misconceptions that are used to peddle these things. Okay, and this is where you will have to be, you have to question. What was that? There was some ad na, about some lady who used to, I forget it, old time DD ad. You know, something ki kharidari mein samajhdari hai, whatever it was. So, now, surf ki kharidari mein samajhdari hai, right? Okay, now the thing is, people will say, okay, yeah, science doesn't know everything. So how do you know that you're right? Well, there is something called being reasonable. Now, you don't know me. Maybe you don't. If I ask you what is my height, you don't know my height, right? But if I give you answers that my height could be 1.72 meters, it could be 5 feet 6 inches, 5 feet 9 inches, 5 meters, 100 meters, you can definitely say that my height is not 100 meters or even 5 meters. Maybe one of these could be, but you know what is reasonable? If somebody tells you something that is not reasonable, you know that there is some panga happening in there. And many times some of the claims made are just not reasonable. Okay? I'll give you an example. This is a fancy hotel, they have fancy teas outside. I don't know if it's written on the packet or not. Many times these, green tea pine ka, right? Drink green tea, please, it's good for you. No problem. All teas are good. But they'll say 99.9% caffeine free. Okay. By the way, if you have a cup of strong coffee, my wife is South Indian, at her home filter coffee milta hai achhe se. If you look at a cup of coffee will have about 400 milligrams of caffeine, right? But if I look at the 400 milligrams of caffeine in a cup of coffee, which is 300 milliliter of milk and water, etc., that is also 99.9% caffeine free, because caffeine is only 400 milligrams in that. So it all depends on how you count. Okay. So I can argue that a cup of brewed coffee is 99.9% caffeine free. So advertising is often a very, very dangerous game. Then the next kind of thing you encounter is that, well, I don't know this, I can't prove it, but can you also prove that it's not true? And this is a famous case of the what is called the Russell paradox. The Russell paradox says that there is a very nice teapot somewhere between Earth and Mars, but you can't see it in a telescope. But there is a teapot going around the sun. It's a teapot paradox. Now, whose burden of proof is it? If you are claiming that there is a teapot, you must show me a way to find that where the teapot is. No, you can't say that my telescope can't look at it. So the burden of proof lies with the person making the claim. If you are making an outrageous claim, be prepared to prove it. Now, well, science is always evolving. Aaj ye bolte hain, kal bolte hain ye. Like cholesterol, right? This is good, ye khao, ye mat khao, whatever. Okay, so in future my claim will be correct. Yes, in 19th century people thought planes would not fly, Newton's laws were replaced by Einstein's laws, etc. Yes, science is an ever evolving process, that is correct. But, the point that you do not have evidence does not allow you to make sort of outrageous claims which are not valid. And we can also decide that, okay, now that we know what it is, should we go back to a theory which we know is not correct? Should we still teach that people thought the earth was flat? Right? When you now know that the earth is round. Then there is things that, I know somebody with a degree in science, he also believes this. Well, as I said, having a degree in science has nothing to do with scientific temper. There are people who offer satellite models at the temple before they launch the satellite. I don't think that is a very scientific thing to do. Right? Now, to have a scientific temper, you don't need any degree. And these days, the most common thing is, मैंने WhatsApp पे देखा, internet पे देखा, right? Now, the point is, anybody can post anything on the net today, videos, blogs, whatever, right? It's not the same as peer-reviewed research. Peer-reviewed research also can sometimes be wrong. I'm not admitting that it's always correct, but at least it's not the standard WhatsApp forward that you're getting, which is absolutely sometimes not anything, anybody writes anything. Okay. And then, there are people who have put together all this. Feynman, a famous physicist, he gave a 1974 talk, which was called Science, Pseudoscience and Learning How Not to Fool Yourself. It's available on the net. And he gives an example. In a remote Pacific island in the World War II times, planes used to land and they used to bring food, and the people on the island got food. The war ended, the plane stopped landing, the food stopped, they were wondering what to do. So what did they do? They said, okay, let us clear a strip of land, and they used to light fires at night because there were no lights, runway lights, so they used to light fires, and they had somebody having some headphones on his head, so they put somebody with some coconut shells or something, and they stood there and waved their hands, but no plane landed. Right? Just following something blindly does not necessarily mean that it's a scientific way. He goes ahead to show this. And then, of course, you know, there are several people for whom this alternate medicine works. Astrological, you know, वो astrology बंदे ने बोला कि इसका शादी नहीं होगा, whatever it is. Something. So, you know, anecdotes are not the same as scientific thing, and there is always confirmation bias. You know, if it has worked for him, it should work for you also. तुम ये दवा ले लो, right? It will be fine. A number of people who tell me, I take the train to work every day. Number of people who tell me, you know, oh, आपके skin पे ये सफेद है, आप ये करो. अरे बाबा, I'm not interested. Okay, but and I know what works and what doesn't work. So the main thing is, one of the biggest problems is correlation is not the cause of causation. And there is this beautiful website, I can give you this link, I'll give you the presentation later, tylerweigen.com, spurious correlations. I chose one specifically for you people, mental health professionals, because I heard suicide is coming up in the end of the day. So this is a correlation between US spending on science, space and technology versus suicides by hanging, strangulation and suffocation. As you can see, there is a beautiful correlation between this. Now, based on this, I will argue that the more the US spends on science, space and technology, the more suicides happen. And hence, to reduce suicides, let's not spend money on science, space and technology. Right? Correlation is not causation. There is always, hence you must ask questions. Is it, you know, is it part of what you understand around you in the world? No degree needed. Is the earth actually flat? If people tell you, oh yes, in the Vedic period, you know, they had Pushpak Viman and they had nuclear bomb and all this. Excuse me, did they have uranium anywhere? Did they have the prerequisites to make a nuclear bomb? Right? Was a process followed? And most important, as a scientist, I may believe something. If you show me evidence to the contrary, I will change my views. That is the hallmark of science, falsifiability. Many of these people are so grounded in their ideology, they will not change it, even if you show them evidence. That is not science. There is another fantastic online site, it's called callingbullshit.org. Okay, and this tells you how to reason, and it says that the world is awash in bullshit, politicians are unconstrained by facts, science is conducted by press release, higher education rewards bullshit over analytic thought, startup culture elevates bullshit to high art, advertisers wink conspiratorially and invite them to join things, etc., etc. They give you lots and lots of examples. In fact, that 99.9% caffeine free example is from there. Okay. I'll give you two examples from there about how bar charts are misused. Okay, so this, the German labor agency wanted to show that अरे हम लोग इतने काम करते हैं, right? Germans are very industrious. Look how much we work. We work so many hours a week. These guys in France and all, they're always on strike. Italy, they're busy drinking wine. They're not enjoying. They're not working hard. So look, these guys are working so much more. But plot the graph carefully. That's the graph when you plot it from 0, right? Then you see that there's hardly any change over there. Okay. Similarly, some graphs should not include 0. So here, for example, is the graph that climate change deniers use to show that there is no problem with climate change. Here is the annual average temperature plotted from 0 to 200 Fahrenheit or whatever, and it's not changing in the last 2 centuries. What you should see is this, right? This is NASA's data, which shows that from the 1970s there's been a very sharp rise in global temperature. This is the global warming climate change phenomenon. So again, it all depends on how you cherry pick and plot data to show things. So this calling bullshit is a lovely resource. There are lots of examples in various things. Now every time, what really bothers me is the number of forwards I get on WhatsApp. Every time there's an eclipse, there'll be people giving me gyan on what to do and what not to do. Okay, now whether it is not even, the eclipse is not even visible from India, still they'll give you gyan. Okay, and typical claim is this. Okay, during an eclipse, the wavelength and intensity of light radiations on the surface are altered. Blue and ultraviolet radiations are known for the natural disinfecting properties are not available, because of which microorganisms can grow in food products and you should not eat during an eclipse. Okay, so I have this eclipse eating campaign where I take pictures of me biting a biscuit and you take a Monaco biscuit and bite it, you'll get the same eclipse moon shape. So you can then show that picture. Now, the thing is this, an eclipse is a play of light and shadows, that's it. Abhi, aapke ghar mein, kitchen mein, you cook and you keep something in the shade, does it go bad in the next, whatever 1 hour time of an eclipse or something. It doesn't go bad. You're like, it's anyway not in sunlight or moonlight. We're using natural, artificial light most of the time in our house, right? So anyway, most of the blue and ultraviolet doesn't even reach us. The ozone layer takes care of it. Okay. So what happens on a new moon day? You still eat, no? Okay. Then even the people at the top of the country, we worship Lord Ganesh, correct? Very good. Socially required. Ganesh festival is amazing. I like it. We have it in everything. Oh, but then the claim is there must have been a plastic surgeon who got an elephant's head put. Right now, surgery is itself difficult. To connect everything, including all blood vessels, all nerves, everything, would be a little challenging, especially in those days. And while we Shushrut and all, they've done some fantastic advances in medicine, very long time back. But you can repair a nose perhaps, but replacing a head is requires a little bit more thing, and that too interspecies. Okay, we are having now probably the first pig liver transplant or the pig something transplant in a human, and that too their 6 months survive kiya to hai, paper published kiya. Okay, but now something, and by the way, why if we are looking at if Ganesh is so great, look at all the Egyptian gods, na? They are all hybrids of some X body and Y head. Did they not know it? Anyway, then you have astrology. Okay, astrology is the biggest science. People are starting courses in astrology, etc. Now just imagine, okay? And by the way, this thing about, Jyotir Vigyan versus Jyotishi and Jyotir Shastra is some diversion that happens somewhere in the 19th century, and even Maharshi Dayanand Saraswati wrote a lot of stuff which is sort of, that part which is arithmetic, algebra, geometry, which goes by the nature of astronomy is true. The other part that treats the influence of stars on human beings goes by astrology is all false. This has been written by people who are trying to, social reformers who are working on it. But even now, just imagine, okay, that there is Jupiter, Guru, Brihaspati, whatever. And Jupiter, they're saying, there is Earth. And in Earth, I can see there is India. India, there is a city of Mumbai. There is Orchid Hotel. Orchid Hotel, there is a CME meeting going on. And there are two people sitting. And I'm going to exert different gravitational influence on both of them because their birthdays are different. Does this make sense? Something, object, million miles, hundreds of millions kilometers away, right? It's just not logical. Anyway, then you can have claims which are scientifically correct but useless. So, somebody said that we analyzed 400 samples of Gir cow urine and found traces of gold. And they got some, so many milligrams of gold, etc. Okay, now the thing is this, Junagadh Agriculture University, the thing to ask is, how does gold end up in cow urine? Must have eaten something with gold. I mean, it's not a nuclear reactor where you can change elements. Okay. Now, the point is, are there similars? If I had very, very micro quantities, if I had analyzed a dog urine or cow urine or cat urine, maybe it would be there in everything. Like today, microplastics are there in everything. Breast milk se leke semen tak, everything contains microplastics. It's just invaded us, right? And is it a matter of amount of gold that is even significant? These are the questions I was saying, Gir cows mein gold hai, baki koi cow mein nahi hai. That's supposedly the thing. So, at the end of it, I want to have a lot of time for questions, and I will leave you with the fact that if you want to be a wise person, you must be a wise person. You must ask questions, ask why. Okay? Thank you very much. And I'm happy to take questions. I can give you lots of examples. So, I know this isn't really hardcore psychiatry thing. I'm not treating anybody who is depressed or something. The only one thing I would like to add is, I started off with the picture of Sheetal Devi. One thing, and this was referred to in the earlier talk as well, and even Swara mentioned a bit of it or question to her, is sports. See, these days when I go to, I have a problem with in my own center, but when I go to IIT and other places, earlier we talked to people, somebody said that there are informal channels of doing some, not therapy, but whatever. Because what happened in our days when you found somebody was, didn't seem like seemed to be depressed, you said, "Arey yaar, chal yaar, khelte hain, kuch karte hain, movie dekhte hain, daru peete hain," whatever it was. People had different ways of dealing with it, but some friends took care of it. Ajkal, everybody has internet in their rooms, everybody is busy on their phones. People don't talk to each other. And people don't play sports. The most important thing of sports is, yes, of course, it helps build muscles and body and all that stuff, but it teaches you how to lose. You play with friends, you lose today, you win tomorrow, you lose again. our kids, and especially we, at HBCSE, we are responsible for the National Olympiad program. We deal with a lot of these high achieving kids. These high achieving kids think that, oh God, I missed half mark in this exam. I'm going to come second, right? I mean, learn how to lose. It's perfectly fine. You do not win every day. This thing, sports teaches you very well, informal sports at least. Yes, at the Olympics you have to run and get a gold. Okay, that I agree, you need that motivation to do it. But otherwise also, apart from just keeping fit, it teaches you how to lose, and that is, many of our kids just don't know that. They've got lost. They're just, everybody's been told you have to be a winner. No, it's okay. Once in a while it's okay to lose. Okay, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arnab Bhattacharya. At the outset, I'm going to take a minute and thank Dr. Shobha Nair, the president of Bombay Psychiatric Society, for putting together an amazing lineup of talks as well as speakers, and her entire team at BPS is doing a phenomenal job. And I think, you know, she knows what she's doing, because all three of us here on the stage are not just cerebrally but even aesthetically very complementing each other. With this, I'm going to, again take a minute to just kind of praise Dr. Arnab Bhattacharya, just because I had such a wonderful time, and if I could pay attention to him, I think that's the biggest compliment I can give him. We at psychiatry, in the world of psychiatry and mental health, are constantly struggling with causation versus association, and we are struggling with stigma and all of that. So rational thinking, scientific temper is something that's really close to our heart, because that's what we're trying to, the spread of awareness essentially is going to be via the biological underpinnings that are kind of interacting with the environmental issues and, creating all of these things. So your talk today has been very, very great. Before I start I open the floor for questions. Just a quick question. When we are talking about algorithms, because apparently all our lives are now on algorithm, and I'm hoping that today, because my phone is listening to your talk, is going to go do something with the algorithm there, and we want to teach our children that, be careful of the content that you consume and everything, and but are we really at this point in our life, with the tech the way it's going and smart devices the way they have been invented, are we really in charge of our own algorithms?
The short answer is no. A more detailed answer is absolutely no. And if you want a nice reasoned answer, is that nobody in this world knows what's going on anymore. Okay, because if you look at all this ChatGPT and Gemini and all these kind of things, earlier when people trying to get intelligent responses from a computer system is not new. There was ELIZA long time back, right? And ELIZA was also designed initially. People wanted it to be a companion for therapy and all, where people could talk to a machine and get some things, because psychiatrists were perhaps in short supply. But they were the responses that the system would give were programmed by the programmer. Somebody knew what was going on. That algorithm was a deterministic algorithm. After that, we went to technologies and designs which were called neural networks, which were more like the interconnections made in our brain, which we don't understand. Now, the way a large language model works, LLMs, this thing large, they work on a parameter called attention, which is not the attention you pay in class. It's some digital thing called defined, it's a mathematical thing, which tells you that if this is a word occurring, what is most likely going to be the next word that comes after it. Okay, that is how close it is. So what is ChatGPT doing? It is randomly, not randomly, it has some statistically choosing what is the most likely word to come after this. How is it doing that? By it has made connections through this process of learning of a large amount of information. Now, what is large? The first real large system was BERT, a bidirectional encoder transmitter, 2018 Google, which had the entire, it had about 300 million parameters from the Toronto books. All books in the Toronto library were there, and the entire content of the English Wikipedia. The entire content, so Toronto gave it about 500 million, and the entire content of the English Wikipedia is 2.5 billion entries. That's what it had. 2018. The last time we know what a model has in the number of what are called tokens, the number of inputs given to it to make connections to, is GPT 3.5, which is 500 billion. GPT 4 and 4 above, they have not announced publicly because they think it's dangerous to announce. It's definitely a trillion plus. GPT 4 is a trillion plus. GPT 4o does a trillion plus in English and 50 other languages, right? Try to ask GPT, Chat GPT, if you use Chat GPT, take your favorite psychiatry paper, upload this is what it's good for. Upload the paper, ask it to generate a 2-page, 1,000-word summary of it, because I can't read a 20-page paper, I'll read a 2-page summary. It'll do a reasonably good job. Then you want to have fun? Ask it to write a 3-paragraph poem with alternate lines rhyming on that thing. Okay? Ask it to translate it into Hindi or Marathi. See how good the translation is. If it is in Hindi, I'll say that I want this in the style of choose anybody. Subhadra Kumari Chauhan, Harivansh Rai Bachchan. It will change it in that style. Why? Because it has all the things ever authored by these people in its database. You want to have more fun? Copy the lyrics, go to suno.ai. Paste the lyrics into suno.ai and say make it into a ghazal. Change it to a rap music. You can do anything you want these days. And we have no idea except the fact that it's a randomly determined statistical next word that is coming. And we don't know how the connections are made. See, we don't know how the neurons are connected in our brain. We know that connections develop. Learning develops connections, but we don't know exact connection network. We don't know. We know the connectome of a whatever E. coli or some maybe a C. elegans, the fruit, the worm, because that has we know 302 neurons, so we can work it out completely. But anything like our brain, we have no idea of it. And right now you have this thing which has absolutely nobody knows. The answer is nobody knows. And that is what makes it dangerous. We have now unleashed something where we have no idea what the connections are and what it's going to put out.
Open for question. Dr. Abhyankar. They'll give him a mic.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya.
Just take the mic because I think the online audience needs the mic.
It's very interesting and this is most needed talk today. My first question is, does intuitive thinking has any role in progress in life? Second is, there are a lot of people who are desperate, helpless, suffering, and science doesn't have any solution for them. So such people go and seek alternate therapies. So can we empathize with them, though we don't accept? Can we empathize that people are helpless, they don't know what to do. The child is sick, it's not getting better. So they go to some temple and take holy water. Though we know it doesn't work, but can we at least accept?
Yes. I think that answer is clearly yes. I mean, just remember that, just put yourself 500 years ago. You have no idea of the laws of physics that govern our world, the laws of chemistry, the laws, we didn't understand the nature of atoms, we don't understand, today you understand the molecular mechanisms of life. You don't understand this 500 years ago. Now clearly at that point in time, if somebody says that, oh, if this happens, you better go and, get some holy water from somewhere. What will you do? It's better than you have no other choice, you have no other something, you'll go and do it. And if that kind of belief or something helps you sort of cope with the situation, I think it is fine. As long as you, and in today's world also, if that is what you want to do, that is fine, except that you must understand that this is just a coping strategy. It is not going to be a curing strategy, right? That is the first. Now, the first question about intuition, yes, of course. I think if there are two things that you need to be a professional scientist or think scientifically, creativity and intuition. Okay, and the way intuition works is based on what you know, faced with an unknown situation, what is the choice that you make, right, is often not purely based on everything that you know, but you have to take a leap ahead of that. And that is what intuition is. Okay. You don't have any, whatever you've done, so normally what you would base your things on, you know, I have seen pictures of, some things are actually genetically hardwired, like if you see a snake, you will, you know, the standard response is very difficult that if you see a snake, you say, oh snake, come, let me hug you, right? That's not a normal response, right? We are biologically programmed in that we will have aversion to a few things, snakes being one of them. It's been shown, right? And from a very, very early age. I mean, there are some things which are programmed, right? Which we tell people, ye kharab hai, ye mat karo, ye mat karo. That's driven into you. But there are some things which are inbuilt. However, so a lot of it is based on what I know. I mean, I have studied the entire local train timetable. I know that at this point it is probably better to change to a fast in Kurla. It will help me get it, it will be less crowded, whatever else. At the end of it, when your train comes and you have to decide, should I get off in Kurla or not? The decisions you take are more than based on what it is that you know from the thing. It is based on, you sometimes decide, nahi karna chahiye, it's not worth doing it. Or you decide, let's do it, right? Some of these things are intuitive. And I think without it, you will, I mean, survival becomes difficult. So it's useful, yes, indeed.
Dr. Nishtha and then Dr. Vani.
Thank you, sir, for a very interesting presentation. I'm Dr. Nishtha Dalwani. Sir, recently I had a case, a young girl, 20-year-old psychology student doing online program from US, and she attempted suicide. And when we checked her mobile, her mom got the mobile to me, she had asked ChatGPT certain questions. And the questions were, she had ordered a lot of drugs online, the antidepressants. The questions asked to ChatGPT were, what would so many tablets do to me? So if I take so many tablets of so-and-so antidepressant, doxepin, and so many tablets of the alprazolam, what would the effect be on my system? And she also asked ChatGPT questions for, she took alcohol and then she took all those drugs. And the mother called me up, and it was a serious attempt, and somehow with antidote, we could survive, she survived the attempt because immediate action was taken. So my question to you, sir, is there any way we can control? Because nowadays, the adolescents, the children are very lonely. So they ask all this, they feed this information to ChatGPT. And sometimes I feel ChatGPT sort of guides them into what they want to actually do. And she did not discuss anything. I just had one session with her before this act. She did not discuss with me, and this went on. And is there some way we can control this?
Why do you want to you're killing only one person by suicide. You can ask ChatGPT how to make chemical weapons or how to make a nuclear bomb, it will tell you.
No, sir, but our adolescents, we are seeing they are doing this. So my question to you is, because ChatGPT finally gives you what you're asking. So this is into, motivating them into doing what the act can.
Clearly, so far when we were growing up, we had access to what we read. We had access to what we learned in our families. We may have had dysfunctional families, we didn't learn more, but we had our friends. There was some amount of information we could get. Now you have a
digital
AI tool which knows every book in every language that has ever been published, right? And every piece of Wikipedia, every piece of anything that exists in there.
But this is a major disadvantage.
Obviously, you can ask it not just how to kill myself, you can ask it how to kill everybody. Okay, this is what I'm saying. We have unleashed something that there is now no going back from. You cannot put it back in.
So
the beast is out of the cage.
It's a very
and especially for folks like you who have to deal with people who will misuse this. ChatGPT can be extremely useful if used in a particular manner. However, there are two problems that we see. One is in an educational setting. I come from a Center for Science Education. You can use it to bypass learning outcomes. You can use it to cheat in an exam effectively. Okay, so that is one problem with it, but that I think is a minor problem. Right? Cheating in exams pehle se hi hota tha. I mean, it's nothing new. There's a new way to cheat now. Okay, everybody, you either had notes or you asked a friend or whatever, you copied somebody's homework. All those things we are used to. Okay, we've all done this. We know what to do. The problem is what you just described is that it is giving you access to, see, right now there are also online portals for psychiatric assistants like Your Dost. Many universities subscribe to Your Dost. But Your Dost also has some filters that if the person on the other end thinks that there could be a thing of self-harm or something, they will violate confidentiality and tell the institution that this person is in trouble. ChatGPT is not going to do that, right? And if ChatGPT puts a filter, tomorrow there will be some other AI program that will be available for that. So this is a very serious problem, and unfortunately one that has no solution as of now.
Thank you.
Last question, Dr. Vani. Okay,
Okay,
sir.
fine, whatever.
2 last questions.
I want to talk about the topic which is the scientific temper in the age of AI. So I don't know what's the science of subjects other than medicine and psychiatry. What I want to present to the audience here is that in psychiatry, especially in India, we don't have any studies of natural outcomes of diseases. We have absolutely very minimal epidemiological research. So if anybody wants to ask AI a question that what will happen to me if I don't take treatment, what will happen to me if I take antidepressant versus I don't take antidepressant, my sense is that it's all going to get gamed into saying that no, you need to take treatment. Because that's the data that is on the internet.
It's biased. It's
Yeah.
trained on
So
Western data.
this is not scientific temper.
I
Science cannot, just because somebody is choosing to be anti-psychiatry and have an approach that is different from the conservative medical profession, it doesn't mean they are being non-scientific. We don't have the science of what happens to depression because if it is not treated. We don't have naturalistic outcome studies, even with schizophrenia. Now, after 20 years of practice, I can see a lot of people probably didn't need antidepressants. That was the subject of the first lecture that we had. So I think scientific temper as such, we must now accept that it is a subculture. Okay, and this whole thing of scientific discoveries changed the world. Trump has changed the world. What science has he used? So there are different ways to change the world.
Bad argument. It is, I mean, the thing is, scientific discovery is changing the world. Its corollary is not that an idiot changes the world. An idiot changes the world is an independent thing. Okay,
No,
it is not.
but
It's not
changes
the
the
corollary
world
of that.
is no. So what I want to give you the counter argument is that this entire thing of scientific temper and AI is a loaded thing. You know, first of all, it means that scientific temper is good. It is correct. It is essential, and it has always got good outcomes. I don't agree with this. Okay, I don't say that you go and do some superstitious eclipse, but if you go by the scientific method, then you have to give us evidence that that has failed in numbers. And again, putting those methods which are outside your conservative scientific methods of inquiry and scrutinizing them. See, the common argument in medicine is, why do you want to assess homeopathic medicine with RCTs? They are different. So I think we need to really have a in-depth, and when it comes to AI, the whole problem is this, that the data that we have collected is all conservative, traditional, we've been writing. That is one. Second is, the data about failures has been purposely suppressed, the negative data, at least in medical science. So I don't know what AI will do with when I ask the question.
That's another problem which I didn't get into details of AI, but there are biases in AI depending on how the AI has been trained. Okay, there are biases in AI depending on its training data set. For example, the training data set has pretty much nothing from the global south. Okay, it has nothing from tribal cultures. It has nothing from a lot of inputs which might make it much more comprehensive. Is just not there. Okay, and that is a limitation. On the other hand, it can be most useful, but I think there's another question. But I will disagree with you on some of the things, and we can discuss it later. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, you know,
I got
you
a
can always
question.
convince me otherwise, right? I will convince you that a bottle of homeopathic medicine has 0 molecules of the active ingredient. Okay.
So one small question.
Yeah.
20 years back,
Sir will ask the question first, then we will allow your question now.
20 years back, I'd read an article in Times of India saying that there is a fast track mind and there is a slow track mind. I still have that article with me. Now my question is, like, does that, like the first question was related with the intuition. And they say that intuition is a fast track mind that operates basically in some of the people, like in how many people and what is the percentage, I really do not know. I would want you to throw some light on basically what is a fast track mind, what is a slow track mind, does it exist, like does intuition exist and all that.
The only fast track I know is a Titan brand of watches.
You know, like you have an intuition, like you decide basically not to catch your train and then something goes and happens wrong.
Baki
You're waiting outside the ICU and then like you get a feeling that there's something wrong that is going to happen to your patient. So is it that it exists and what is your idea about it? That's the question.
I really don't know. So this is beyond anything connected to what I know. I have not heard of fast track mind and slow track mind. All I can tell you is that with 100 billion neurons and glia, the connections will be very different in two individuals, and there is no way you can make out how people will respond to a given situation or intuit a certain situation, right? So it might well be that two people see things very differently, and people can label them with whatever labels they want: fast track, slow track, harbor line, whatever it is. But I don't know whether there's any basis for doing it which can be evidence based. What I would call, the lady there had a question.
Yeah,
Last.
This is the last, but this is an important question for everybody. I have
I seem to
invested.
be putting people into.
I was always in the medical, in a service. So I always felt that I am earning less than the people who practice. So that time I had a very good Bengali friend, and he told me to invest in mutual funds. I did years back. Okay, and then because of maybe America, maybe our great man, things keeps moving in the market, right? So I was worried what to do with my mutual funds. So I kept all my mutual funds in ChatGPT, asking the question which I should get rid of and which I should retain. Okay, and ChatGPT has given me the answer. Okay, then I checked with my knowledge. I have a good knowledge on mutual fund, with various reading, value research and everything. The ChatGPT was telling correct. But then I was tempted to ask, should I believe you ChatGPT? After all, it is my money, So what do you think in such a situation one should do?
Unfortunately, I don't have friends giving me such nice advice on what to do with my money. But on a more serious note, given that in today's world, market movements have been actually analyzed by this branch called mathematical finance or mathematical economics, and they are sort of algorithmic. It is possible that, again, in your particular case, we don't know, but given 100 cases of 100 different portfolios, ChatGPT might be right in a majority of cases, right? Because this is something which is very easily to do. So it's like this: ChatGPT has been found for example, diagnosis of micro crack fractures in X-ray images, right? ChatGPT has been found to be as good or better than what a trained physician does, because it just goes through every pixel of the image, which would take too much time, so it can do it much quicker. So there are some things in which it may be right most of the time. It will not be right 100% of the time. But just remember that ChatGPT is giving you a statistical thing of what word comes next without understanding anything of the logic behind it. As long as you believe that part, you know how ChatGPT works, then it is up to you to believe what it says, and your mileage may vary depending on and a lot depends on what prompt you give it as well. So a lot of things are very, very iffy, but I seem to have ignited a debate here, which is interesting.
Thank you so much for all the questions. I'm going to ask you one last question so that it ties up everything. You're a scientist and an educator. What a couple of tips that you can give us that we might share with the parents who are coming to us, or ourselves as parents, in the age of spoon feeding and essentially stopping children from thinking and questioning and asking, what couple of things that we can say about technology, about AI or anything that might kind of be beneficial and undo something that is already going on?
I keep telling my wife, for our daughter, mother her, don't smother her. Okay? So we have this tendency to believe that we know much more than our kids know. And our kids actually today know a lot. And unless you make mistakes, of course, not mistakes like going and having a bottle of alprazolam or something, but unless you make mistakes, you don't learn. So we have to let them make small mistakes. The problem I see today is that parents are unwilling to they just want their kids to only do well. They don't want to let them, so one thing is allow them to make mistakes, allow them to learn, and two, get out and play. Get rid of those books, chuck those books out of the window, go and play. You learn
But there
much
are no
more.
books and there is no place to play and there are no people to play with. And that's precisely what I'm saying. How do we get that back? How do we get that back, especially because everybody's glued to
I
a
don't have
device?
time to go to a gym. Okay? I don't. I really don't. I just, my life is just too busy. What do? I intentionally take I'm privileged, as Dr. Jacob said, I'm privileged, I can afford a first class pass, right? But I take the far away first class compartment. It forces me to walk something else, a little bit more and back. And the Mankud station bridge is my gym. I have to cross it up and down twice a day. Okay? And I do not take the elevator, I take the stairs as far as I can help it. Okay, not today, yesterday was Dandiya and, saal mein ek baar nachne se, you feel the effects the next day. I think that the fact that there is no place, I agree, I mean, ideally we would love to have a lot of green place and this thing. I lived outside for many years. It's a different thing where you have a lot of free space and clean air and all that. We don't have that luxury here. But still, I mean, in Govandi, in the garbage dump, I see kids playing around there. Yeah? There is always, if you want to play, you can make space to play. It's an attitude in your mind that what you need to do.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Bhattacharya.
Shobha, is there any other formality or we end the session? Okay. Exactly. So we felicitate this.
Yes.
And how do we?
Thank you so much, sir, for showing us that AI shapes the future, but it must be scientific temper which gives it direction. I would now request Dr. Nishtha Dalwani. I would also request Dr. Nishtha Dalwani, our EC member, to please felicitate our chairpersons.